Welcome back, reality designers. Great to have you with us again.
Good to be here.
So today we're diving deep into something pretty fundamental, I think. It's all about how easily we get conditioned by everything around us.
hmm It happens faster and more subtly than we often realize.
Totally. And for anyone maybe newer to this way of thinking, we're also going to connect that to human design, how understanding your own design can be this amazing tool for, like, deconditioning.
Yeah, peeling back those layers.
Exactly. Have you ever just stopped and thought, why am I doing this? Maybe it's because everyone else is, or it's just, how things are done. Does that ring a bell for anyone listening?
I think it resonates with most people, if they're honest.
I think so too. So in this deep dive, we've got some really fascinating examples lined up that show just how powerful this conditioning is.
Yeah, some classic studies and analogies.
And then we'll link it all back to human design, showing how it offers a path to living, well, more authentically. Our mission, really, is to shed some light on these conditioning forces.
The subtle ones, the obvious ones.
Right. And show how human design gives you a kind of personal map to navigate away from that and towards your true self.
It's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Let's maybe start with one of the most well-known examples of social influence, the Asch conformity experiment.
Oh, yeah, the line study. Classic.
It really is. So back in the 1950s, Solomon Asch set this up. Picture yourself as a volunteer for what you think is just a simple vision test.
Okay.
You're in a room with, say, 7 or 8 other people. You get shown 2 cards. One has a single vertical line. The other has 3 vertical lines of different lengths, A, B, and C.
And your job is just to say which line on the second card, A, B, or C, matches the length of the line on the first card. Seems simple enough.
Dead simple. And for the first couple of rounds, everyone agrees on the obvious correct answer. You're probably thinking, okay, easy points or whatever.
Right, settling in, no big deal.
But then the setup changes slightly. Unbeknownst to you, everyone else in the room is actually an actor, a confederate of the experimenter.
Okay. Here it comes.
And on the next set of cards, the answer is still blindingly obvious. But all the actors start giving the same clearly wrong answer, one after another, before it gets to your turn.
Wow. So the pressure's on. Do you trust your own eyes, or do you doubt yourself and go with the group?
That's the million-dollar question Ash was asking. And the results were, well, pretty eye-opening.
They really were, weren't they? Something like, what, 3/4 of people caved at least once?
Yeah, around 72%, maybe even closer to 75% in some variations, conformed to the clearly wrong majority view on at least one critical trial.
That's huge. Giving an answer they knew was wrong.
And get this, about 5% of the participants went along with the majority's wrong answer nearly every single time.
Wow. Just completely overriding their own perception.
While only about a quarter of the participants consistently stuck to their guns and gave the correct answer throughout.
It just hammers home that deep desire we have to fit in, right? To not stand out or rock the boat.
Absolutely. Asch himself put it quite starkly, suggesting the results showed that reasonably intelligent and well-meaning young people are willing to call white black under group pressure.
That's a powerful statement. And it wasn't like the lines were tricky. They were obviously different.
Not at all. But he also found something interesting if just one other person in the group, just one confederate, broke ranks and gave the correct answer.
So if you weren't totally alone.
Exactly. The conformity rate of the actual participant dropped dramatically. Having just one ally made a massive difference.
That's encouraging, in a way. It shows the power of dissent, too.
It does. And interestingly, the pressure didn't keep increasing indefinitely. Having 3 confederates giving the wrong answer was often enough to exert maximum influence. Adding more didn't necessarily make it much stronger.
So it's this basic human thing, avoid being the lone dissenter. It's not always about logic, it's about social acceptance.
And you see echoes of this everywhere, don't you? Think about social media, groupthink in meetings.
Yeah.
That pressure to, agree or stay silent, even if you feel differently.
Definitely. It makes you, as a reality designer, pause and think, where might I be going along with the crowd, even subtly, against my own better judgment? It's a good question to ask.
It really is. Now, there's another story or analogy that illustrates a different facet of conditioning the unconscious transmission of norms. It's often called the 5 monkeys experiment.
Right. This one's maybe less formal science, more of a powerful parable, but it makes the point so well.
Exactly. So the setup goes something like this.
Okay.
You put 5 monkeys in a cage. In the middle, there's a ladder with a bunch of bananas hanging at the top.
Okay. Tempting prize.
Very. But whenever one monkey starts to climb the ladder, the experimenters spray all the other monkeys with freezing cold water.
Ouch. Not pleasant. And not fair to the ones who weren't climbing.
Not at all. But the monkeys quickly learn the association. Climbing the ladder equals misery for the group. So what do?
They stop anyone from going near that ladder, I bet.
You got it. If any monkey even thinks about it, the others will jump on it, pull it down, basically beat it up to prevent the climb. They enforce the rule themselves.
Okay, so they've established this norm. Don't climb the ladder. Even if they don't fully get the water connection, they know the consequence within the group.
Precisely. Now, the experimenters take one of the original monkeys out and put in a new monkey.
A newbie who hasn't been sprayed.
Right. Sees the bananas, naturally starts to climb. And what happens?
The other 4 who know the rule attack it.
Immediately, the new monkey gets beaten down, learns very quickly. Okay, we don't climb the ladder here. Crucially, this new monkey has never felt the cold water. It has no idea why climbing is forbidden, only that it is.
Ah, okay. I see where this is going.
Then another original monkey is swapped out for a new one. Same thing happens. The newcomer tries to climb and gets beaten down not just by the remaining originals, but also by the first replacement monkey.
Who also doesn't know the original reason.
Exactly. He just knows this is what we do. This continues until all 5 original monkeys are gone. You now have 5 monkeys in the cage who have never experienced the cold water spray themselves.
Yet, none of them will climb the ladder.
And if one dares to try, the other 4 will stop it, likely quite violently.
And if you could ask them why don't you climb for the bananas?
The answer would essentially be, I don't know, that's just how things are done around here.
Wow. That's chillingly accurate sometimes, isn't it?
It's such a powerful illustration of how behaviors, rules, traditions, societal norms can just get passed down unquestioned. People enforce them without understanding the origin, or if the origin is even relevant anymore.
That phrase, well, this is the way we've always done it, or that's just how it is. We hear it all the time. We probably say it ourselves sometimes.
Without stopping to ask, but why? Does this still make sense? Does it make sense for me? It highlights that generational programming, right? Beliefs, fears, ways of doing things just passed down.
Yeah, absorbed unconsciously. We inherit these patterns without even realizing it.
So you put these two together, Ash, showing the fear of standing alone, making us conform even against our senses.
And the monkeys showing how we perpetuate behaviors just because they were handed down, losing the why along the way.
And you see these incredibly strong forces shaping us, often pulling us away from our own authentic knowing or judgment.
Okay, that paints a pretty clear picture of how easily conditioning takes root. It's happening through direct pressure and through just absorbing the status quo. So this is where human design comes in as potentially a really different approach. For anyone listening who's maybe heard the term but isn't sure what it is, or maybe feels a bit stuck in these patterns we're describing, what does human design offer here?
Well, human design is fundamentally a system for self-awareness and, I'd say, self-liberation. It gives you a look at your unique, energetic blueprint, your inherent nature, before all that conditioning got layered on top.
So it's like understanding your factory settings.
That's a great way to put it. It was founded, or perhaps synthesized, by Ra Uru Hu back in 1987. And it's quite unique because it pulls together wisdom from ancient systems.
Like astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system.
Exactly. And blends them with insights from modern science like quantum physics and genetics. It's a synthesis.
Okay, so it's not just one thing. It draws from many sources to create this map.
A map of you, yes. Your unique genetic and energetic design. It shows you how you're built to navigate the world, make decisions, use your energy effectively. The whole point isn't to give you more rules, but to give you the self-knowledge to live with more ease and flow.
To be the best version of you, not who society or your upbringing told you should be.
Precisely. And crucially, in the context of our discussion, it helps you identify why you might be making decisions that feel off, or why you feel pressured to act in certain ways.
Like seeking approval, or needing to prove yourself based on external yardsticks.
All that stuff. Human design can pinpoint the specific ways your design might be vulnerable to certain kinds of conditioning. It reveals your potential not-self themes, the ways you tend to operate when you're out of alignment.
So it's not just descriptive, it's actually a practical tool for intentional deconditioning, for consciously choosing differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those conditioned impulses and having a reliable alternative, your own inner guidance system.
Okay, so if someone's intrigued, where's the starting point with human design? It looks complex with all the lines and gates and centers on the chart.
It can seem that way initially, for sure. But a really fundamental place to start is understanding your energy type. This is probably the most foundational layer.
Right, the overall way your aura works and how you're meant to engage with life's energy.
Exactly. There are four main aura types, though one includes a subtype. You've got generators and also manifesting generators, often grouped with them.
They're the majority, right? Like
Yeah.
two-thirds of people.
Roughly, yeah, around 67% or so. These are the builders, the life force energy beings. Their strategy involves responding to life, waiting for something external to light them up before committing their energy. Using their energy correctly brings deep satisfaction.
Okay, then manifestors.
Manifestors are about 9%. They're designed to initiate, to get things started, to have an impact. Their strategy is to inform those who will be impacted before they act, which helps clear resistance. Historically, maybe the leaders, the rule breakers.
Interesting. And projectors.
Projectors are around 21%. They're non-energy types in the sense they don't generate consistent life force like generators. They're here to guide, to see systems, to manage the energy of others. Their success comes not from initiating, but from being recognized and invited for their wisdom. Big conditioning trap here is trying to act like a generator or manifester.
Leads to burnout, I imagine.
Major burnout and bitterness, yeah. And finally, the rarest type, reflectors, about 1%.
The mirrors.
Exactly. They have no defined centers, so they deeply sample and reflect the energy of their environment and the people around them. Their clarity comes over time, often needing a full lunar cycle to process big decisions. They're like the barometers of society's health.
Wow. So very different ways of operating. And it's key to stress, like none is better or worse, right?
Absolutely not. There's no hierarchy. Each type has a crucial role and a unique way of navigating life successfully. It's just different mechanics.
Understanding your type is like getting the basic operating instructions. What comes next? Strategy and authority.
Yes, those are the next crucial pieces for practical application, especially for deconditioning. Your strategy is linked directly to your hijacks. It's how your aura is designed to interact with the world, to attract the right opportunities and minimize resistance.
Like generators responding, manifestors informing, projectors waiting for the invitation, reflectors waiting a lunar cycle.
You got it. And authority is your unique, reliable way of making decisions. This is huge for deconditioning because human design says most of us are conditioned to make decisions from our logical mind.
Which, as we've seen, is easily swayed by external pressures and old programming.
Precisely. Your authority, however, is located somewhere specific in your body's intelligence. It might be your gut response, sacral, your intuition, splenic, your emotional wave, solar plexus, or others. It's about learning to tune into that signal, your body's wisdom, rather than the conditioned shoulds of the mind.
So it's training your intuition, essentially, learning to trust that inner knowing over the mental chatter.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Following your strategy and authority is designed to lead you to decisions that are correct for you, leading to less struggle, more alignment, more flow.
Okay, let's connect this back really clearly to the conditioning examples. How does knowing my type, strategy, and authority help me deal with the Asch effect or avoid being one of the monkeys?
Great question. Think about the cold showers in the monkey story. Understanding your human design helps you recognize what constitutes a cold shower for you. It helps you identify the external pressures, like an Asch, or the inherited rules, that's just how it's done, that are pushing you out of alignment with your own nature.
So if I'm, say, a generator, and I feel pressure to initiate projects all the time without waiting for that gut response, knowing my design helps me see that pressure as conditioning, not truth.
Exactly. You can recognize, this feeling of needing to make things happen isn't my sacral responding yes. It's probably my conditioned mind trying to act like a manifester, maybe because I was told I should be more proactive. Or a projector recognizing that feeling compelled to jump in and offer advice without being asked is their conditioning talking, not their true design waiting for the right invitation.
So it gives you a framework to identify the not-self thoughts and pressures.
It does. And your strategy and authority give you a concrete alternative. Instead of caving to the pressure or blindly following the old rule, you have a reliable internal compass to consult. Does my sacral light up for this? Does this feel intuitively correct right now? Have I waited for clarity through my emotional wave?
You start making choices from your inner truth, not from the outside noise or the inherited habits.
And that's the deconditioning process in action. Little by little, choice by choice, you strengthen the connection to your authentic self and weaken the grip of the conditioning.
And it's an experiment, right? You always emphasize that.
Crucially, human design isn't a belief system you just accept. It's information you experiment with. You get your chart, you learn the basics of your type, strategy, authority, and you start observing yourself. Does waiting to respond feel better? Does trusting your gut lead to better outcomes for you? You test it in your own life.
See what resonates, see what works.
That's the only way it becomes real knowledge.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we started by seeing just how potent conditioning is. The Asch experiment shows that pull to conform, even against our own senses.
That fear of being the odd one out.
And the five monkeys analogy really highlights how easily we adopt and enforce rules without knowing why, just because that's how it's always been done.
That inherited, often unconscious programming.
But then human design steps in as this really empowering counterpoint. It offers a map to your unique energetic self beneath all that conditioning.
Yeah, it gives you practical tools, understanding your type, following your strategy, honoring your authority to start recognizing that conditioning.
And consciously choosing a different path, one that's aligned with who you actually are.
It's a pathway back to your authentic nature.
So for everyone listening, especially if you're feeling that weight of shoulds or recognizing those autopilot patterns, maybe exploring your human design chart is a worthwhile next step. It could offer some really valuable clues for your own deconditioning journey.
Which leads us maybe to a final thought to leave people with. Just pick one area in your life, big or small, where you might be running on that, well, that's just how it's done, logic. Just one.
Okay.
And ask yourself, if I looked at this through the lens of my unique human design, my energy, my decision-making style, might a different approach emerge? Could there be a way that feels more authentic, more aligned for me?
That's a great prompt, something concrete to explore. It's all about starting that journey of self-awareness, isn't it?
It really is, one experiment at a time.